Zhong Tian, the childhood sweetheart of my officer husband Shen Jingze, fell from the upstairs and suffered a concussion, insisting that I pushed her. To avenge Zhong Tian, Shen Jingze ignored my pleas and struggles, ordering the guards to forcibly drag me, who was pregnant, to confinement. When I was released, I was covered in blood, and the child in my womb had miscarried. It seemed that Shen Jingze had some regrets. Gently holding my hand and telling me that we were still young and would have more children, I just gave a cold laugh. I will never have a child with him. This child was deliberately aborted by me hitting my abdomen, because I knew that Shen Jingze and the child in my womb were both ungrateful. They would push me to a dead end and leave me with no place to bury myself for the sake of Zhong Tian. I have lived the life of a fish on a chopping block for one lifetime. This time, I want to turn my tragic life around in advance. Years later, I became a wealthy tycoon with immense assets. In the previous life, Shen Jingze, who had risen to great heights, became a penniless wreck. Comrade, the baby in your womb has suffered a strong impact, showing signs of threatened miscarriage. You must stay in bed and rest for the next few days, or you may lose the baby. The sounds around me were intermittent, and the pain in my abdomen and body gradually brought my hazy consciousness back. Red slogans on green walls, a weathered door. Doesn't this seem like something from 40 years ago? But wasn't I already dead? After being imprisoned for 5 years by Shen Jingze, I died painfully from a terminal illness. Why would someone who is already dead see scenes from 40 years ago? Before I could fully figure it out, the hospital room door was slammed open. A young man in military uniform, carrying an icy aura, rushed to the bedside where I lay. Li Xiangwan, why did you push Tian so viciously? Do you know she almost died? I swallowed the words that were about to come out. What's the point of denying and explaining? In my previous life, I denied it and explained that it wasn't my fault, but Shen Jingze simply didn't believe me. He only believed Zhong Tian. Shen Jingze roared at me, his face filled with fury. My gaze fell on Shen Jingze's face, decades younger. The 20-something Shen Jingze was truly, incredibly handsome. His high, straight nose, his chiseled features, even those fiery eyes staring at me were utterly captivating. In my previous life, I was utterly infatuated with Shen Jingze's face, willing to give everything for him, to lose my dignity and bow down for him. But in the end, I met a terrible fate. How naive I was back then. Even if I was framed by Zhong Tian and sent to prison by Shen Jingze, even if I was terminally ill and had only a few days left to live, I still thought of Shen Jingze constantly. I always believed it was all Zhong Tian's scheme, and I convinced myself that Shen Jingze was deceived and innocent. Only when I learned that I had cancer and had only a few days left did the doctor who treated me request a meeting with Shen Jingze and my son, but they coldly refused. The doctor, with sympathy, told me that Shen Jingze was going abroad with Zhong Tian to fulfill her birthday wish and had no time to see me, instructing me to reflect on my mistakes in prison. My son also conveyed a message to me, telling me to die if I wanted to, so as not to embarrass him or make his father, Shen Jingze, feel awkward. I was already at death's door, barely holding on, and after hearing this, I coughed up blood and collapsed. I never expected to relive it, to see Shen Jingze's youthful face again, to look at the man I had loved and wronged for decades, and to feel all the love in my heart vanish. In my previous life, if Shen Jingze had just been honest with me and told me directly that he loved Zhong Tian, I would have stepped aside to let him be happy, even if I still loved him. But Shen Jingze never told me he loved Zhong Tian. He always insisted that he only wanted to help her out of gratitude, treating her like a younger sister. He used the noble pretext of repaying a debt of gratitude to engage in all sorts of shameless acts with Zhong Tian. The desolate life of constantly serving others, along with the despair and agony before my death, made it impossible for me to suppress the intense hatred welling up inside me. I stared intently at Shen Jingze. If I could, I would bite Shen Jingze hard to vent the anger for my innocent and pitiful self from my previous life. Shen Jingze didn't notice my expression was off and continued to roar at me. I never expected you to be such a vicious and shameless person, Li Xiangwan. Don't think that just because you're pregnant, you can escape punishment. Let me tell you, this time, I won't let you off. Shen Jingze's words made me sneer. How do you plan to not let me off? I want you to apologize to Tian, and I'm going to confine you, so you can reflect deeply on your mistakes, as expected. It's the same old routine. in my previous life, Shinjingza also imposed two non-negotiable conditions on me. First, apologize and admit my mistake to Zhong Tian, and second, be confined and punished to reflect on my errors. Both conditions are indispensable. No one believed my explanation, and in the end, I was forced to apologize and admit my mistake to Zhong Tian. I thought Shinjingza would spare me, considering we had been married for 5 years and I was pregnant, but I was wrong. On the day I was discharged from the hospital, Shinjingza coldly had me escorted to solitary confinement by security guards. I begged Shinjingza tearfully, pleading that I was pregnant and asking him to let me go for the sake of the child, promising to face punishment later. But Shinjingza showed no mercy. He said I was vicious and unrepentant, and insisted that I must pay for my actions to learn my lesson and never repeat them. For 7 days of confinement in darkness, all I could do was count the days until I could leave. During these 7 days, Shinjingza never came to see me, and the guards had forgotten that a pregnant woman like me was still locked in the detention cell. It wasn't until Shinjingza returned from accompanying Zhong Tian to see a doctor in the capital that he realized I was still in the detention cell. A normal person would die from 7 days without food or water, and when I was finally released, I was in a state of deep unconsciousness. I was lucky to survive, barely clinging to life, and it took several days of emergency medical treatment to pull me back from the brink of death. After going without food or water for 7 days, my body was severely damaged, and I developed a serious stomach condition. This likely contributed to my later fatal cancer diagnosis. When I was released, Shinjingza felt deeply guilty and treated me exceptionally well. I thought he loved me, and because of that love, I forgave him. But later, Zhong Tian told me that Shinjingza was nice to me only because he was afraid I would report him to my superiors. After all, if I were confined and died, resulting in 2 deaths, Shinjingza's career would be affected. I didn't believe what Zhong Tian said, so I fell into one vicious cycle after another. The pitiful me from my past life kept fooling myself until death, believing that Shinjingza loved me. He was just deceived by Zhong Tian. In this life, I know all the past events, and I will no longer be deceived by Shinjingza's appearance, because no love can be endless harm. I looked at Shinjingza and said word by word, I am not wrong, I will not apologize, you have no right to confine me. Shinjingza was furious upon hearing this. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Since you're so stubborn, don't blame me. Shinjingza's veins bulged on his forehead as he shouted to the outside, take Li Xiangwan to the detention room for reflection. I was dragged to the detention room by the guards. In my past life, I was concerned about my reputation, and to save face for Shinjingza, I chose to silently accept being taken away by the guards to the detention room. This time, I won't make such a foolish mistake. If the guards try to apprehend me, I will scream at the top of my lungs, murder. Shinjingza is trying to kill me, his lawful wife, and our unborn child for his mistress Zhong Tian. Help, I'm innocent. Shinjingza never expected me to cry out for justice so shamelessly. Everyone around turned to look, their whispered comments making him feel utterly humiliated. With no other choice, Shinjingza took matters into his own hands and covered my mouth. Rage drove me to bite down hard on the hand he used to cover my mouth. Blood trickled into my mouth, the metallic taste spreading. I saw Shinjingza's face contort in pain. Does it hurt? It must be painful. After all, there's blood. But this pain is nothing compared to the pain I endured in my previous life. I was escorted to the detention room while being watched by a crowd, and everyone who saw it was talking about it. What did Li Xiangwan do wrong to be locked up like this? It's said that she pushed Zhong Tian. Zhong Tian was seriously injured, so Commander Shen acted justly and had Li Xiangwan reflect on her actions. So that's how it is. This seems like self-inflicted suffering. I don't think that's fair though. Li Xiangwan is gentle and doesn't seem like such a vicious person. Besides, isn't she pregnant? Look, her forehead is still bleeding. Isn't it too harsh of Commander Shen to treat his own wife this way for the sake of an outsider? Yes, Commander Shen is showing too much concern for that Zhong Tian. Commander Shen is a person of strong emotions, clear about her grudges and gratitude. She is repaying a debt of gratitude to Zhong Tian. Even so, this seems excessive. Li Xiangwan is pregnant, after all. The law doesn't immediately sentence pregnant women who commit murder to death, let alone in a simple dispute like this. Commander Shen is being far too protective of Zhong Tian. The surrounding murmurs made Shinjingza's face turn ashen. He never dreamed that the gentle and refined me would cause him such embarrassment. After I was thrown into the confinement room, he ordered the guard to lock the door. Li Xiongwan, I never expected you to be such a shrew. I originally planned to lock you up for 7 days, but seeing how you are, 7 days clearly won't be enough. Reflect on your actions for half a month. With that, Shen Jingzi stormed out angrily. The door of the confinement room was closed, leaving it pitch black and devoid of light. I spent a terrifying 7 days here in my past life, unconscious and on the brink of death. After finally recovering, I was framed into premature labor by Zhong Tian. I suffered greatly and hemorrhaged, leading to the removal of my uterus, all for the sake of giving birth to the bastard in my womb. I poured all my love into the only child in my womb, but this bastard is just as vicious and shameless as his father, Shen Jingzi. He actually likes Zhong Tian more than me, his own mother. A cold smile crept across my lips as I thought of the suffering I endured in my past life. I won't let this vicious and shameless wretch survive. I clenched my fists and began pounding my abdomen with force. Half an hour later, my agonized screams echoed loudly. Someone who heard the noise came and opened the confinement room. Finding me lying on the ground covered in blood, I had a miscarriage. I was sent to the hospital, covered in blood. Shen Jingzi was originally by Zhong Tiantian's bedside, but when the guard told him I had a miscarriage and was rushed to the hospital, he jumped up. He rushed out of the ward in a hurry, completely oblivious to the triumphant smile in Zhong Tiantian's eyes on the hospital bed. After the procedure was done, I was wheeled out of the operating room and immediately saw Shen Jingzi standing outside, his face pale and grim. He took a step forward, reaching out to hold my hand, but I gave him one word: get lost. Shen Jingzi took 2 steps back, looking bewildered as the nurse pushed me past him. After the nurse finished my 4, Shen Jingzi followed me in again, standing in the ward. His face showed a rare trace of sorrow. Was he sad because the child was gone? How could that be? The bastard who was always devoted to Zhong Tian in his previous life kept saying that if it weren't for his existence, Shen Jingzi would have divorced me long ago and married Zhong Tian. Because of his existence, Shen Jingzi couldn't bear to end this marriage that was merely a facade. So now that the bastard is gone, Shen Jingzi should be happy, right? I watched as Shen Jingzi slowly walked to the bedside. I looked at him with a blank stare, neither happy nor sad. Shen Jingzi reached out to touch me, but perhaps due to my cold expression, he retracted his hand. He said in a dry voice, Xiong Wan, I didn't expect the child situation either. Take good care of yourself. We'll have children in the future. Humph. Will there be more children? Is this to comfort me? After all, such a big deal as my miscarriage in the detention room must have already spread throughout the military district. Shen Jingzi's strict military discipline is admirable, but is ruthless towards his own partner. I wonder what gossip people outside will say about him, not to mention that my miscarriage also involves another woman. Everyone can see how much Shen Jingzi cares for Zhong Tian. I think rumors must be starting to spread outside, right? Yes. I will definitely stoke the flames to make the rumors even more intense. As I was thinking, a nurse rushed in to find Shen Jingzi. Commander Shen, Comrade Zhong has fallen and fainted. According to the nurse, Zhong Tian wanted to come see me after hearing about my miscarriage, but she was so weak that she fainted and collapsed in the hallway after just a few steps. Zhong Tian has always liked using such tactics to manipulate Shen Jingzi into leaving. It worked every time in her past life, but this time, it might backfire. Shen Jingzi was worried that Zhong Tian had left, and I lay in bed, sobbing uncontrollably, hearing my wailing. The nurses, doctors, and even people from the neighboring ward came over. Everyone kindly consoled me when they learned that I had lost my child. As I wiped away my tears and cried, I recounted all the misdeeds of Zhong Tian and Shen Jingzi to the nurses, doctors, and curious patients, ever since Zhong Tian arrived. The heart of my spouse Shen Jingzi, listed on our marriage certificate, has been completely lost. Shen Jingzi arranged a job for her and gave most of his salary to Zhong Tian for her expenses. Zhong Tian constantly clung to Shen Jingzi, deliberately provoking me, causing arguments between me and Shen Jingzi, and frequently finding excuses to take him away. Even late at night, without hesitation, she would call Shen Jingzi to stay with her all night. Claiming to be afraid of thunder and rain, Zhong Tian even made outrageous threats, saying she would harm my unborn child and force me to divorce Shen Jingzi. What I said are all facts that Zhong Tian has done, and the military personnel have all seen it. It just so happens that no one knew they were secretly spending late nights alone together in a room. As a result, everyone's gaze took on a different meaning. Moreover, now that I've lost the child in my womb, Shen Jingze has ignored me after the miscarriage, yet he summons Zhong Tian at will, and everyone has seen this. The nurses, doctors, and fellow patients were all outraged. From their expressions, I knew the news of Shen Jingze and Zhong Tiantian's affair would spread throughout the military compound within 2 days. Shen Jingze was summoned for a talk with his superiors. Shen Jingze explained to his superiors that he and Zhong Tian were innocent and that he was only helping her out of gratitude. The leader also trusts Shen Jingze, but the rumors outside are too strong. The leader is Shen Jingze's old superior and really likes him, reminding Shen Jingze to be mindful of his influence and keep his distance from Zhong Tian. When Shen Jingze appeared at the hospital again, his face was dark and gloomy. He closed the door and warned me, "Li Shengwan, you almost ruined me. Because of your recklessness, I was summoned by the leader. Do you know how much this will affect my future promotion?" I twitched my lips. It's better if it has an impact. In my past life, I endured humiliation and suffering, while Shen Jingze and Zhong Tian lived a carefree life, acting all high and mighty. After experiencing such a painful past, how could I let him have a smooth career like in my previous life? Since I've been reborn, shouldn't I do something to make my enemies miserable? Shen Jingze has no idea what's on my mind. I love him so much, and I care deeply about his future. He knows I would follow his instructions without hesitation. He instructed me, "From now on, you need to clarify every rumor out there. You must make it clear to everyone that Zhong Tian and I are just like siblings." "Are you really just siblings?" "As far as I know, you two aren't related by blood at all," I retorted. Seeing my sarcastic smile, Shen Jingze found it irritating and continued with displeasure, "If I had any other thoughts about Zhong Tian, why would I marry you? He brainwashed me like this in my previous life, and I was foolish enough to believe him." Now, hearing his familiar explanation, I couldn't help but laugh again. Shen Jingze was a bit annoyed by my laughter. "Xiangwan, now is not the time to be throwing tantrums and being jealous. It's all because you didn't listen to me that I've ended up in this situation. I'm warning you, behave yourself. If you keep acting out of line, I'll divorce you." "Divorce is something I've been hoping for." I immediately nodded. "All right, let's get divorced. Right now." Shen Jingze hadn't expected me to say that, and his expression stiffened. "What are you making a fuss about? I'm not acting out. It's better to divorce cleanly than to share a husband with another woman. Let's go our separate ways and each find our own path." Hearing me say that, Shen Jingze was furious. "What do you mean, Li Shengwan? We're in a military marriage, not something that can be dissolved so casually. So, you're willing to yourself for a lifetime. Are you sure you want your good sister to be a mistress for life?" The term mistress didn't exist back then, and Shen Jingze was puzzled. "What's a mistress? What is that?" Shen Jingze is pressing me for answers. But of course, I won't explain in detail. "Shen Jingze, you want me to trust you, so from now on, you are not allowed to have any contact with Zhong Tian. Can you do that?" To my surprise, Shen Jingze actually agreed. "I will leave all matters concerning Zhong Tian to you from now on, and I promise not to contact her privately." This change didn't happen in my previous life. It was expected that Shen Jingze would choose to yield after weighing the pros and cons for a promotion. Zhong Tian doesn't have his level of awareness, and I believe she'll quickly stir up trouble if she can't see Shen Jingze. I'm looking forward to Zhong Tiantian's moves. After all, since I've been reborn, I might as well reclaim some of the grievances and suffering I endured in my previous life. Zhong Tian is unaware that Shen Jingze is planning to distance himself from her for the sake of his career. She continues to pretend to be sick and lie in the hospital, playing the victim, waiting for Shen Jingze to visit her. Just like in her previous life, after waiting for several days and seeing that Shen Jingze still didn't come to visit her, Zhong Tian couldn't hold back anymore. She asked countless people to exaggerate her condition in hopes that Shen Jingze would come to see her. When Shen Jingze heard that Zhong Tian had coughed up blood, he was frantic. His superiors had given him strict orders, and he dared not disobey, so in the end, he came to me. Zhong Tian had fully expected Shen Jingze to visit her, but instead, I showed up, not seeing the Shen Jingze she had been longing for, and ensuring there was no one else around. Zhong Tian glared at me and asked sharply, "What are you doing here?" "Come and see you. Watch how you stir up trouble." I wandered around the ward for a while. "Didn't you say you were dying?" Aren't you looking rosy and healthy, Zhong Tian Tian? Don't you think pretending to be sick is a bit outdated? When I exposed Zhong Tian Tian, she stopped pretending. Li Xiangwan, it must be hard to bear the loss of your child, right? I was the one who killed your child, but Jingza doesn't care about you, he only believes me. For my sake, he has to sacrifice you, the rightful wife. You must be feeling terrible inside, right? You're overthinking. I smiled calmly. As long as Jingza stays away from you, this disgusting woman. What's the big deal about losing a child? Zhong Tian Tian, you probably don't know, but Jingza won't be coming to see you anymore. Zhong Tian Tian was stunned. What do you mean? It means exactly what it says. Rumors are spreading outside that you and Jingza are having an affair. For the sake of his reputation, Jingza is going to start avoiding you from now on. You. Zhong Tian Tian was shocked by my words. Li Xiangwan, what have you done? Take your time. I'll explain everything to you slowly. I walked over to the hospital bed and looked down at Zhong Tian Tian. Zhong Tian Tian, I know your dirty thoughts. You want to kill my child, break me and Jingza apart, and become Jingza's other half, right? So I decided to fulfill your wish. I'll tell you the truth. I killed my own child, and I spread the news about you and Jingza being involved. How is that possible? Are you crazy? Zhong Tian Tian knew how precious my child was to me, and how much I loved Jingza and cared about his reputation. I actually took the initiative to kill my own child and tarnished Jingza's reputation. Zhong Tian Tian couldn't imagine it and was furious. She knew how severe the consequences of my actions were for both her and Jingza. You shameless woman, using your own child to scheme against me. How vicious you are. Compared to you, I'm nothing. Zhong Tian Tian, from now on, I'll make you experience the pain I once endured. Is that so? Let's see who comes out on top. Zhong Tian Tian raised her hand and viciously slapped herself across the face twice. With 2 loud smacks, Zhong Tiantian's cheeks immediately swelled up. Zhong Tian Tian really didn't hold back on herself. Blood was already seeping from the corner of her mouth. With her tongue, she licked the bright red blood, venomously glaring at me, and shouted loudly, Li Xiangwan is hitting someone, help. After saying that, she jumped off the bed and ran towards the door barefoot, but just as Zhong Tian Tian took 2 steps forward, she found herself unable to move. I grabbed Zhong Tiantian's hair from behind, yanking her back with all my strength. Just as Zhong Tian Tian had slapped herself to frame me, I pulled her hair with all the force I could muster. I could see the twisted, pained expression on Zhong Tiantian's face. Amid her screams, I yanked Zhong Tiantian's hair and slammed her head into the wall. One after another, Zhong Tian Tian never expected me to strike, as I used to be the kind of person who was gentle, kind, and easily intimidated. My brutal forceful blows made Zhong Tian Tian scream in pain and she quickly passed out. Seeing Zhong Tian Tian unconscious on the ground, I stepped outside and wiped my eyes a few times, soon tears streaming down my face. The nurse who heard the noise in the corridor was hurrying over, and upon seeing my tear-stained, miserable face, she immediately stopped and asked me, Comrade Li, what's wrong? Who bullied you? The nurses who came were old acquaintances. During my hospital stay after the miscarriage, I gained a lot of sympathy from the doctors and nurses. Moreover, since Zhong Tian Tian was not actually sick and was just occupying a hospital bed pretending to be ill, the doctors and nurses were quite fed up with her. I was gasping for breath, crying, I'm doomed, I'm definitely doomed, Zhong Tian Tian. She slapped herself and framed me. Now she's pretending to faint on the ground. Slapping herself and pretending to faint. The nurses exchanged glances. Zhong Tiantian's character isn't good. She's been bossing people around in the hospital, relying on Jingza's protection. The nurses already disliked her arrogant attitude, and knowing she was the one who interfered in my marriage with Jingza made them even more disdainful of her. I continued to cry. What should I do? What on earth should I do? I'm so guilty. Even jumping into the yellow river wouldn't wash me clean. If Jingza finds out, he'll definitely blame me. And I'm done for. This is too much. Don't be afraid, Comrade Li. We'll testify for you. Several nurses immediately sided with me. Thank you. But she's still lying on the ground pretending to be unconscious. How should we handle this? We'll go in with you to take a look. Accompanied by a few nurses, I returned to the ward, where Zhong Tian Tian was lying on the ground, unconscious. A few nurses looked at her with disgust. Enough pretending, get up. The unconscious Zhong Tian Tian naturally wouldn't respond. I wiped away my tears, walked over, crouched down, and reached out to touch Zhong Tian. Stop pretending, get up right now. As I touched Zhong Tian, the needle tip I was holding pierced into her waist. That was the large sewing needle I had specially brought to deal with Zhong Tian. Measuring at least 6 or 7 centimeters long, the effect of being pierced by such a long sewing needle was obvious, and Zhong Tian, still unconscious, let out a sharp cry of pain. As Zhong Tian opened her eyes, I quickly pulled out the sewing needle and hid it in my sleeve. The intense pain caused Zhong Tian to suddenly sit up, her gaze meeting my mischievous smile. Hatred and anger drove Zhong Tian to slap me without thinking. A nearby nurse grabbed Zhong Tian's hand. "What are you going crazy for?" Seeing this, the other nurses all rushed forward to restrain Zhong Tian. Unable to move, Zhong Tian was dumbfounded. She was usually shrewd and calculating, but after a momentary shock, she quickly reverted to her pitiful and endearing demeanor. She complained to the nurses holding her. "Li Xiangwan hit me. She slapped my face and grabbed my hair, slamming my head against the wall. She intentionally hurt me. I'm going to call the police to arrest her." Zhong Tian thought she would gain support by telling the truth, but the nurses looked at her with disdain. "Enough, Comrade Zhong, stop pretending. We know you're staging this drama to slander Comrade Li. Such thoughts are unacceptable and need to be corrected immediately." "I'm not pretending. I really am. My head hurts to the extreme, my face hurts, and of course, the spot on my waist where I pricked myself with the needle hurts too," Zhong Tianyu desperately tried to explain. But no one believed her. Several nurses sided with me. "Comrade Li, don't be afraid, we will definitely testify for you." This was all orchestrated by Zhong Tianyu herself. Zhong Tian's head really hurt, and her face hurt too, but no one believed her. Several nurses were shouting about calling the police and even produced Zhong Tian's ridiculous medical record. "You're faking illness to occupy a hospital bed. And we will definitely report the truth." Zhong Tian softened. She could manipulate Shinjingza only because he cared for her and liked her. Others are neither her parents nor her relatives, so naturally, they won't indulge her. Whether it's good or bad, onlookers can see it clearly. Zhong Tian herself knows that making a big fuss will not work in her favor. So she gritted her teeth and swallowed her pride. I was surrounded by nurses as I walked out, and I glanced back at Zhong Tian, giving her a challenging smile. "Zhong Tian, this is just the beginning, and the best is yet to come." After giving Zhong Tian a small lesson, I returned home in a great mood. To my surprise, the always busy Shinjingza was actually at home. He bought my favorite oranges and candies, and as soon as he saw me return, he asked about Zhong Tian. "How's Tian doing? He really cares a lot, doesn't he?" If it weren't for the fear of his promotion being hindered, Shinjingza would probably have rushed to the hospital to see Zhong Tian by now. "Right," I replied expressionlessly. "She's doing great. After all, she still has the energy to frame and slander me." "What do you mean?" Shinjingza was taken aback. "I followed your instructions and went to see Zhong Tian. Even bought some fruit, but she didn't appreciate it. She threw the fruit away, slapped herself, pretended to faint, and framed me. If it weren't for the nurses at the hospital door who witnessed it with their own eyes, I would have been wrongfully accused today." "How could that be?" Shinjingza's face showed disbelief. "If you don't believe me, you can go to the hospital and ask the nurses. It wasn't just one person who saw her frame me, there were 4 of them." Shinjingza was unusually silent. Why would she frame you? You don't know." I asked Shinjingza. Looking at him, Shinjingza shook his head, and I sneered. "Zhong Tian said I'm not worthy to be your wife. She's the one who is." Shinjingza's face had been serious, but it changed when I said that. "Here we go again, Li Xiangwan, why can't you ever remember? I've told you so many times, Tian and I are just siblings. There's no way it could ever be anything more." "Hee, but you two aren't siblings, are you?" "No matter what, I have a clear conscience." Shinjingza even warned me, "Behave yourself and don't cause me trouble." It seemed he realized his tone was too harsh when speaking to me, so he softened his voice. "Xiangwan, be a good girl. It's my fault about the child, and I apologize. We'll have more children in the future." He thought allowing me to have a child was a great favor to me, not realizing I had already changed my core. I will never have a child for Shinjingza. Don't even dream about it. Zhong Tian suffered real brain concussion after I hit her and stayed in the hospital for several days. During these days, she didn't forget to cause trouble, calling Shinjingza several times using the hospital phone. She even asked someone to deliver a letter to Shinjingza. When she didn't hear back from Shinjingza, Zhong Tian panicked and left the hospital to find him herself. Zhong Tian, on the verge of tears, knocked on the door of mine and Shinjingza's place, only to find him having lunch with me. Seeing Shinjingza a piece of spare ribs into my bowl, Zhong Tian couldn't believe her eyes. She sobbed, "Brother Jingza, are you abandoning me?" Seeing Zhong Tian's swollen face and her sickly beauty, how could Shinjingza remain unmoved? Tian, how could I abandon you? I've just been so busy lately. Zhong Tian cried and threw herself into Shinjingza's arms. I thought you were leaving me. Brother Jingza, I was so scared you'd abandon me. You promised my parents you'd take care of me. Wah. Zhong Tian's parents had done a favor to Shinjingza, and when her parents were mentioned, a look of guilt flashed across Shinjingza's face. I thought Zhong Tian would take the opportunity to accuse me of hitting her and sow discord between me and Shinjingza. But it seems Zhong Tian has gotten smarter. She didn't even mention the incident where I dealt with her at the hospital. Instead, she just reminisced and built rapport with Shinjingza, and in the end, she even cried and apologized to me in front of him. I'm so sorry, sister-in-law. It's my presence that has made things difficult for you. Don't worry, once I recover, I'll transfer to another place. You won't have to worry about me affecting your relationship with Brother Jingza anymore. After saying that, Zhong Tian actually knelt in front of me, kowtowing repeatedly, begging for my forgiveness. It's undeniable that Zhong Tian's tactic of retreating to advance worked really well. Shinjingza was heartbroken to the extreme and immediately went over to help her up. Your sister-in-law isn't that petty, Tian. We're not going anywhere. We'll stay here, where it's convenient for me to take care of you. Zhong Tian stood up with Shinjingza's help, emotionally recounting the past. I couldn't bear to listen anymore and walked away. I clearly knew that Zhong Tian had learned her lesson and that she couldn't rush to accuse me. She was playing the long game, hoping to make Shinjingza feel sorry for her and then use the same tactics against me again. I went out for a few hours and returned, but Zhong Tian was gone. Shinjingza was sitting alone in the living room when I came back. He said, "Xiangwan, let's talk." "Sure." I nodded and walked over to sit across from him. "What do you want to talk about?" "About Tian." Shinjingza grabbed my hand. "Xiangwan, I truly see Tian as a sister. You know her parents have done so much for me. I can't repay them, and they only have Tian as their daughter, so I can only repay her." "Fine, I won't stop you from repaying your debt. You don't need to inform me about what you want to do with Zhong Tian. I don't care." "Xiangwan, don't say things in the heat of the moment. I know you've misunderstood, thinking there's something shady between me and Tian. I swear, I truly see Tian as a sister, and the only person I want to spend the rest of my life with is you." In my previous life, hearing such a heartfelt declaration from him would have made me fall for him foolishly, wholeheartedly, and without regrets. Unfortunately, I am not the naively Xiangwan from my past life, whose heart was only filled with love. I pulled my hand away. "I understand what you're saying. Is there anything else?" Shinjingza was surprised that my deep affection for him didn't move him. He held my hand in his again, speaking earnestly. "Xiangwan, I'm about to go on a mission and won't be back for a while. After I leave, you need to get along harmoniously with Tian. Tian has agreed to listen to you from now on. You must fulfill your duty as a sister-in-law. I'm entrusting Tian to you. Wait for me to return." This had a somewhat entrusted to the care of another tone, and I raised an eyebrow. "Alright, I will definitely take good care of your sweet sister Tian." Shinjingza led a mission to the south, and before leaving, he repeatedly urged Zhong Tian and me to get along harmoniously. Zhong Tian and I both nodded tacitly, agreeing to his request. Harmonious coexistence is impossible. I know Zhong Tian won't let it go, and neither will I. When Shinjingza returns from this mission, Zhong Tian and I will definitely settle our score, and it will be either her or me. In our mutual gaze, both Zhong Tian and I shared such a firm determination. On the first day after Shinjingza left, Tian and I got along harmoniously. She took the initiative to call me sister-in-law and came over to help me with housework and cooking. On the second day after Shinjingza left, Zhong Tian bought me an outfit and shoes, and invited me to a movie. She affectionately linked her arm with mine, calling me sister-in-law repeatedly, allowing everyone in the courtyard to witness our close bond. We went in and out together, supporting each other, like a real sister-in-law duo. as if any previous unpleasantness had never happened. On the 10th day after Shinjingza left, Zhong Tiantian knocked on my door early in the morning and brought me breakfast. Sister-in-law, I'm off today, shall we go for a spring outing by the river? Great, I gladly agree. Zhong Tiantian had already prepared lunch snacks and warmly linked her arm with mine as we walked out the door. Whenever we encountered someone we knew, Zhong Tiantian would greet them and tell them she was going to the riverside for a spring outing with me. After telling about a dozen people along the way, Zhong Tiantian and I packed our food and rode our old-fashioned bike straight to the riverside. As we were about to arrive, I said I had a stomachache and needed to find a place to relieve myself, so I left for a while. When I returned to the riverside, Zhong Tiantian had already been waiting there for over an hour. She had an impatient look on her face, pacing ly back and forth, her eyes filled with resentment, muttering to herself. I cleared my throat and said, Tiantian, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. As soon as Zhong Tiantian saw me, she immediately changed her demeanor. As if the venomous look she had just moments ago was just a figment of my imagination. Sister-in-law, the scenery here is so beautiful. I borrowed a camera, let me take a few photos for you. I happily agreed and stood by the riverside while Zhong Tiantian took several photos of me. Several times, Zhong Tiantian laughed joyfully and rushed towards me, but I, standing by the riverside, skillfully dodged each time. I laughed heartily, while Zhong Tiantian's laughter grew colder. After several failed attempts to grab me, Zhong Tiantian proactively laid out the picnic mat and set out the food. She spread the picnic mat by the river, choosing the side facing the water for herself and leaving the side closer to the water for me to sit on. Starving, sister-in-law, come and eat. Zhong Tiantian enthusiastically offered me food, but I didn't take it. Instead, I stared straight at Zhong Tiantian, spit it out. What's your motive? What motive could I possibly have? Zhong Tiantian forced a smile, and I lowered my voice. I know you were just looking for a chance to knock me into the river, then jump in yourself to pretend I pushed you. When that didn't work, you're back with this act to make me guess what you're planning next. I looked at Zhong Tiantian's pale face. You put something in the food to set me up. Zhong Tiantian, do you think I'm that stupid? After knowing you're a venomous snake, do you think I wouldn't be on guard at all? You found out. Huh, I thought I could fool you for a few days. But I didn't expect you to be quite clever, did I? The mask was torn off, and Zhong Tiantian stopped pretending. Li Xiangwan, since you already know, I won't hide it from you anymore. Today is your death day. With that, she lunged at me. I was sitting with my back to the river when Zhong Tiantian lunged at me, and we both fell into the water. This was Zhong Tiantian's tactic to set me up in my previous life. Zhong Tiantian lured me to the riverside and pushed me in, setting the stage for a murder I would have committed to kill her. I can swim, but Zhong Tiantian cannot. Not long after falling into the river, someone arranged by Zhong Tiantian came to rescue her. Then they helped Zhong Tiantian testify that I was trying to kill her. Everyone believed Zhong Tiantian, and even Shinjingza believed her, so he turned me in to serve time in prison. Zhong Tiantian framed me 30 years earlier than in my previous life. If it were the previously Xiangwan, she would have been doomed for sure, but I'm not the previously Xiangwan. I knew what Zhong Tiantian was planning when she invited me to the riverside. I knew Zhong Tiantian had arranged witnesses to frame me, and I let her fulfill her desire to self-destruct. I immediately grabbed Zhong Tiantian's head as I fell into the river, forcing her underwater to drink her fill. Zhong Tiantian gulped water until her eyes rolled back, and as she lost consciousness, I yanked her hair, slamming her head against the jagged rocks by the shore. Over and over again, Zhong Tiantian's pretty face was covered in blood, but it still wasn't enough. I was once deprived of my uterus, leaving me unable to have children for a lifetime. How could I ever forget such pain, since I have a second chance? Zhong Tiantian must also experience the of losing her uterus. The rebar prepared by the river had already pierced through Zhong Tiantian's lower body. I watched as the river slowly turned red with blood, then, satisfied, I dragged Zhong Tiantian's hair toward the shore, screaming for help in a heart-wrenching voice. The witness Zhong Tiantian had arranged arrived just in time, and Zhong Tiantian was rushed to the hospital. I lay on the ground by the riverbank, a cold smile playing at the corner of my mouth. Now, it's time to see Shinjingza's performance. Shinjingza returned a week later. Upon hearing the tragic news of Zhong Tiantian's injury, he rushed to the hospital immediately. Zhong Tiantian had been saved, but like me in my previous life, She lost the chance to become a mother. She was even worse off than me in my previous life. She was disfigured, her face covered in pockmarked scars. Zhong Tian grabbed Shinjingzi and sobbed loudly, accusing me of harming her to Shinjingzi. Zhong Tian had been waiting for this day for a long time. But the outcome was different from what she expected. She was disfigured, while I remained unscathed. It was false for Zhong Tian to say she didn't regret it when she woke up. She couldn't understand why I had retaliated so fiercely. She couldn't understand how she had gone from being the perpetrator to the victim. By now, Zhong Tian knew she had no other options left. She was determined to hold me accountable, to make me pay the price. She was determined to exploit Shinjingzi's sense of gratitude to make him take responsibility for her. Indeed, when he heard that I was the one who caused Zhong Tian to end up like this, Shinjingzi was furious. Just like in her previous life, Zhong Tian found a few reliable accomplices and witnesses. The accomplices and witnesses all spoke in unison to accuse me on Zhong Tian's behalf, their stories sounding quite convincing. They claimed that after Shinjingzi left, I had been bullying Zhong Tian all along. Zhong Tian bought me clothes and shoes to please me, took the initiative to do housework, and invited me for a spring outing in an attempt to change my attitude towards her, never expecting that I would go to such an extreme and harm her. They witnessed with their own eyes as I forced Zhong Tian into the water. The evidence and witnesses are all there. I am indeed the mastermind. Just like in my previous life, there is only one path left, and that is to go to prison. Shinjingzi is furious at my viciousness and shamelessness. He is heartbroken over Zhong Tian's current situation and promises her that he will give her an explanation. I've been waiting at home for Shinjingzi's wrath. During the days waiting for Shinjingzi to come back and confront me, I've already packed my bags. I sold most of the furniture in the house, and even my bicycle. I sewed all my money into my clothes. I've already made a detailed plan, just waiting to part ways with Shinjingzi. The door was kicked open with a bang, and Shinjingzi stormed in. He grabbed my collar and lifted me up. Li Shengwan, why did you do this? I pried Shinjingzi's fingers off forcefully. Shinjingzi, if I told you that none of this was my doing and it was all Zhong Tian's design, would you believe me? Nonsense. Shinjingzi naturally didn't believe me, and he was so angry he cursed. Li Shengwan, Tian can't swim, but you can. Would a non-swimmer be foolish enough to scheme against someone who can swim? Just like in my previous life, Shinjingzi firmly believed that Zhong Tian wouldn't take such a risk, and he angrily interrogated me. Besides, if Tian had plotted against you, would she have disfigured herself and become infertile for life? I chuckled. That's easy to explain. Her plan backfired due to a mistake. How can you still be so stubborn? Li Shengwan, do you think I have to protect you? That I must unconditionally defend you? Do you know you're committing a crime? This could land you in jail. Of course I know, but none of this was caused by me. It was Tian Zhong's own doing. You still refuse to repent. Li Shengwan, you are even more vicious and shameless than I imagined. You are also more insane than I thought. Since you are determined to commit evil, don't blame me. I won't let you off this time. Fine, I'm waiting for you. In my previous life, it ended the same way. I no longer expect anything, yet my heart still aches sharply. So, how do you plan to punish me? Shinjingzi kicked the sofa when he saw my indifferent attitude. You go to the hospital and sincerely apologize to Tian first. I won't apologize. Then you're just waiting to go to jail. Let me tell you, Li Shengwan, I would never marry a woman as ruthless as you. If you go to jail, I'll divorce you. Great, I couldn't ask for more. I pulled out the divorce agreement I had already prepared. Sign it, and we'll get divorced right now. Shinjingzi looked at the divorce agreement and then at me. You had this ready. Did you know I was going to ask for a divorce? Why, no reason needed, just sign it. Shinjingzi, who had never been thwarted by me before, was furious. He took the pen I handed him, signed the divorce agreement, and threw it at me. As you wish. I bent down to pick up the divorce agreement, and by the time I straightened up, Shinjingzi had already left in long strides. As he reached the door, he couldn't resist threatening me. Just you wait, the police will be here soon. I let out a cold laugh, grabbed the divorce agreement, and headed straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau. An hour later, I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau with 2 divorce certificates in hand. The smooth process of the divorce relieved me. And now the next thing to wait for is the police interrogation. I'm not at all afraid of the police interrogation. It's not just Zhong Tian who has the ability to find witnesses to testify against me. I've lived a full life too. And I prepared even more thoroughly than Zhong Tian. The police didn't come to me, so I took the evidence to the police station to report the crime. My evidence was well prepared, and Zhong Tian knew I could swim, so she prepared food laced with sleeping pills for me. Her original intention was to make me pass out and drown in the river. I didn't expect to uncover her plan. So Zhong Tian changed her plan at the last minute. She intended to stage an accident where I would push her, an inexperienced swimmer, into the water. Knowing Zhong Tian's intentions, I preemptively found a few witnesses. They were nurses from the hospital who immediately sent the food Zhong Tian had laced with sleeping pills for testing. They witnessed Zhong Tian pushing me into the river and also confirmed that Zhong Tian had purchased a sufficient amount of sleeping pills. As for why Zhong Tian suffered such a severe injury, it's because she can't swim and her luck was extremely bad. She accidentally hit a hard rock, damaging her face, and then, by sheer bad luck, a piece of rebar floating in the river punctured her uterus. Rocks and rebar can't talk, and there are no fingerprints to trace that someone harmed her. Zhong Tian is definitely going to have to swallow this bitter pill. I provided evidence to incriminate Zhong Tian, whose criminal activities are well documented. Due to her physical weakness after losing her uterus, the police plan to arrest her once she recovers. After divorcing Shinjingzi, I had nothing holding me back and immediately bought a train ticket to head south. Punishing Zhong Tian is my goal, but it is not the ultimate one. Zhong Tian is indeed hateful, but Shinjingzi is also to blame. Just dealing with Zhong Tian isn't enough. Knowing what's coming, I know Shinjingzi is going to suffer, without my help from my previous life. He's going to suffer terribly. I'm waiting for Shinjingzi's comeuppance. After leaving, I devoted all my energy to building my career. Knowing what was coming next was a huge help. I successfully worked my way up from the bottom, achieving good results in less than 5 years. With the reform and opening up sweeping across the country, I became one of the first to dive into the market and benefit from the opportunities. The company I founded grew rapidly, and more than a decade later, I became the first female richest person with the largest assets. I traveled across the country with my money and the people I gathered, opening branches and doing charity work everywhere. I never expected to meet Shinjingzi during a charity visit in Jiangqing. Over the course of more than a decade, Shinjingzi had transformed from a dashing military officer into a disabled person confined to a wheelchair. I was speaking on stage, and he was watching me from below in his wheelchair. When our eyes met, I looked understanding, but he was utterly shocked. I saw Shinjingzi moving his lips. Though I couldn't hear the sound, I could understand what he was saying. It was clearly the name Xiangwan. After donating a large sum of money, I was about to leave in my car when Shinjingzi, in his wheelchair, blocked my path. Xiangwan, do you know how long I've been looking for you? I asked him coldly. What do you want with me? I never intended to send you to prison, nor did I plan to divorce you. I was just angry. I tried to convince Zhong Tian to drop the charges against you, but by the time I succeeded, you were already gone. Is this a belated apology? Even if it is, why should I accept his apology? Seeing me coldly staring at him without a word, Shinjingzi's face darkened. He moved his lips. Xiangwan, I didn't know Zhong Tian could be so despicable. I was deceived by her all along. Stop talking. I don't care. After all, we're divorced, and I'm not interested in your affairs. I stared at Shinjingzi, enunciating each word. Can you please not block my car? I have an urgent matter. I'm rushing to see my husband and son. Today is our 6th wedding anniversary. You're married. You actually got married and have a child. My driver started the car, and as it began to move, Shinjingzi suddenly spoke. Xiangwan, I had a dream. In it, you loved me deeply, never leaving my side, and we had a son. Really? I rolled down the car window and smiled at Shinjingzi. There must have been more to that dream, right? Like how you ignored me for Zhong Tian, or how you sent me to prison because of Zhong Tian, or how you and your ungrateful son always sided with Zhong Tian and bullied me. Shinjingzi's face turned as pale as snow, and I smiled sweetly. In your dream, were you on the brink of death after achieving merit? And it was Zhong Tian who knelt and begged a famous doctor to save you from the clutches of the king of hell, and then you quickly rose through the ranks in your dream, and you treated Zhong Tian as your lifelong savior, right? How do you know that? Shinjingzi asked me urgently. You don't need to worry about how I know, but I need to tell you something. Do you know why you've been sitting in a wheelchair and unable to stand after achieving merit in this life? It's because I didn't run hundreds of miles to kneel and beg medical experts to save you like in your dream. That's why you're crippled. So it was you who saved me in the previous life, not Joan Tian Tian. No wonder, I scoffed. Shinjingza, did you dream that I died a miserable death in prison from a terminal illness? What were you thinking? Relieved, weren't you? After all, only with my death could you marry your Zhong Tian Tian legitimately. No, it's not like that. I didn't know you would die. I thought you were faking it. By the time I rushed back, you were already. I regret it, deeply regret it. Is this a belated regret? But what good does it do for me? Shinjingza muttered. Xiang Wan, I know it's all Zhong Tiantian's fault. I didn't let her off. I punished Zhong Tian Tian, and she's just been released. She's doing terribly now. With that, I felt relieved. I closed the car window and instructed the driver, drive. The car drove away. And Shen Jingze in his wheelchair grew farther and farther from me. Seeing Jingze in his current state, I finally exhaled a sigh of relief. In this life, I have no regrets. The car sped along. The bulky cell phone beside me rang. It was my current husband calling. I picked up, and his gentle voice came through. Xiang Wan, my son and I are waiting for you. Okay, I'll be right back. No one stays trapped in the past forever. Shen Jingze is history now. I have a loving husband and a son. In this lifetime, I won't rely on or trust men anymore. I will be my own queen. Story 2. The living room was deathly silent. My parents frowned in frustration as they looked at the zero next to my name on the report card. Gigi, even though you grew up in the countryside, how could you have let your studies fall so far? Song Jiajiao leaned against my mom, pretending to speak casually. Even if sister's grades are bad, she wouldn't get a 0, right? I heard from classmates that it's because she likes Jiang Mian and deliberately handed in a blank paper to get into class 13 with him. She immediately covered her mouth as if she had said something wrong. But when she looked at me, her eyes betrayed her smug satisfaction. My dad's face turned livid with anger. If that's the case, then I won't bother pulling strings to get you into a better class. You can go to class 13 and sink into oblivion. Before I could go back to my room, Song Jiajiao smiled sweetly and stopped me. I know you've also been reborn, but so what? This time, I've already gained the upper hand. I glanced at the transcript. Is this what you mean by an advantage? Her face twisted instantly, her voice sharp. If you hadn't returned to the Song family and disrupted my stable life, how could I have had to get close to Jiang Mian to suppress you, only to be humiliated and bullied by him and his people? I withdrew my gaze expressionlessly and reached out to close the door. Song Jiajiao snapped. Song Ji, what are you pretending for? Don't think the Song family can protect you. Class 13 is full of thugs, and it's your turn to be bullied and humiliated by them this time. Song Jiajiao is right. The Song family can't protect me. Or rather, they wouldn't even try to protect me. When I was 6, my father brought back 5-year-old Song Jiajiao and wanted a divorce from my mother. My mom followed my dad overseas for business out of love, leaving me with my grandmother in the countryside, where I stayed for 10 years. It wasn't until my parents remarried recently that I was brought back to the Song family. By then, Song Jiajiao, who had always been doted on by my father, was already part of the household, so their attitude toward me wasn't exactly warm. In my past life, Song Jiajiao willingly degraded herself to join class 13 to chase Jiang Mian. My dad only scolded her a couple of times but still wanted to transfer her to another class. Unfortunately, Song Jiajiao refused to budge. When it came to me, they just let it be. Under the torment of the people in class 13, Song Jiajiao nearly broke down and developed depression. Even in such a situation, the Song family couldn't protect her, let alone me, a mere shadow in their eyes. After packing up, my gaze fell on the report card. Originally, it was Song Jiajiao who had handed in a blank paper. We both reincarnated, and she was the first to swap our exam numbers. Thinking of her words earlier, I chuckled. A scoundrel, back in Qingping village. I've never heard of anyone worse than me. The news that I was infatuated with Jiang Mian and had submitted blank papers to get into class 13 spread like wildfire across the school the next day. Jiang Mian had been a prominent figure at the school since freshman year. Handsome, from a wealthy family, he spent his days fighting and skipping classes, leading the pack of spoiled rich kids. His behavior was so bad that even the teachers couldn't do anything about him. Many followed his lead, and the school had specially created class 13 to house these hopeless teenagers. Even the last place student fell within class 13's scope. As I stepped into the classroom of class 13 with my newly issued books, a stool came flying at me. I barely dodged it, but my books scattered all over the floor. Just as I was about to bend down to pick them up, a pair of limited edition sneakers stepped on my textbook. I looked up and met a pair of disdainful, appraising eyes. A few boys nearby were jeering. Myung-gu, this girl here handed in a blank paper for you. Wow, how truly devoted, I've inquired. She's the eldest daughter of the Song family, from the countryside. No wonder she dresses so old-fashioned. Hey, little country girl, don't you know Myung-gu likes girls with good figures and fair skin? You're not even worthy to kneel down and lick his shoes. I scanned the room and finally locked my gaze on Jeong Myeon, letting out a cold snort. Don't flatter yourself. What makes you think you're worth me handing in a blank paper? I just wasn't in the mood and wanted to score 0 for fun. Arrogant guys like you are so annoying. After saying that, I stomped on Jeong Myeon's shoes with the 30 yuan canvas shoes I bought in the countryside and hadn't had a chance to change yet. Throughout the entire morning self-study, I calmly endured Jeong Myeon's disbelieving stares. During the break, I got up to go to the bathroom. As I approached the door, I noticed a few shadows cast by my peripheral vision. I let out a cold laugh, pulled my backpack from behind, and held it in front of me as I stepped into the bathroom. The next second, a bucket of cold water was dumped over my head. I shielded myself with the backpack, leaving me unscathed while the backpack was soaked through. The ones who threw the water were 3 girls, clearly not expecting this outcome. They froze for a moment before angrily shouting, "You bitch, why did you insult Jeong Myeon this morning? If you know what's good for you, apologize right now." What if I don't apologize? Then you can forget about having a good time in class 13, I chuckled. It's as if you'd let me off the hook if I just went along with you. After saying that, I rolled up my sleeves and grabbed a water pipe from the side. Come on, all of you. I'd like to see how you're going to make my life miserable. The 3 of them froze for a moment, their faces flushing with anger. Bitch, I'll kill you. After that, one grabbed my hair, another tried to kick my stomach, and the third attempted to snatch the water pipe from my hand. 2 minutes later, I zipped up my pants, expressionless, as I walked out of the bathroom, casually fixing my bangs as I passed the mirror. Behind me, the 3 girls lay on the ground, clutching different parts of their bodies and groaning in pain. Before leaving, I casually threw my backpack at one of their heads. Song-ji, you better watch your back. Wait, Lu Jia, this seems to be your backpack. What? After that incident in the bathroom, I made a permanent enemy of them. Since they couldn't beat me openly, they resorted to petty tricks behind my back. So on my first day of school, I returned home wearing the uniform that Sulu had deliberately cut up. The living room atmosphere was pleasant, and Song Jiajiao was sharing her impressive achievements with her parents. In fact, before the previous life's class division, Song Jiajiao had always been a good student, a promising candidate for a key university, but after joining class 13, she quickly fell into decline, scoring less than 300 in her last mock exam. Meanwhile, my parents thought I was unruly in the countryside and never had high hopes for me, yet I managed to secure a guaranteed admission to Tsinghua University, shocking them. As soon as I got home, the warm atmosphere froze. A few seconds later, my mom noticed my torn school uniform and frowned, accusing me. How did your jacket get such a big hole? Song Jiajiao took my mom's hand and hinted, it doesn't look like it was an accident. Sister, did you get into a conflict with someone? Sure enough, my mom's face darkened instantly. Song Ji, I've told you so many times, the people in this school are either rich or powerful, you don't know their backgrounds, so acting recklessly could get you in trouble. Your dad spent so much money to get you in here so you could study, not to fight with people. Even if you can't help the family, don't drag your dad down. Can't you learn from Jiao Jiao? She just got double A's on her test today. My mother had said something similar in her previous life, so I studied hard and eventually got a direct admission to Tsinghua. Even so, their scales and their hearts were always tilted towards Song Jiao Jiao. I looked at their mother-daughter bond and sneered, Mom, have you forgotten who your real daughter is? My mother's expression froze instantly. Gigi. What are you saying? Jiao Jiao is excellent and hardworking. Can't I even praise her? Are double A's really considered excellent? I chuckled coldly, my gaze landing on Song Jiao Jiao, who immediately pressed her lips together and looked at me warily. Next month, the school will conduct a grade ranking. I'll show you what real excellence looks like. With that, I slung my backpack over my shoulder and strolled back to my room. Behind me, my mom looked at Song Jiajia's slightly pale face and awkwardly comforted her. Your sister has always been introverted, and her words can be harsh. Don't take it to heart. You know her grades, right?" Song Jiajia's face didn't improve at all, because she knew in her previous life that I had indeed secured a spot at Tsinghua University on my own. She clenched her hands tightly, staring in the direction I had left, comforting herself in her heart. Being in class 13, where you don't get skinned alive, is already good. How could there be any time to focus on studying? As long as she tried, she would definitely not be worse than me. However, a month later, when the test results came out, I crushed Song Jiajia with a score of 680, which was still a restrained performance on my part. When I threw the transcript onto the coffee table, Song Jiajia's eyes turned red with anger. My dad, who had always looked down on me, held the transcript and examined it repeatedly, unable to believe it. "See that? It's just a double A. What's there to boast about? If I wanted to, I could get into Tsinghua or Peking University." My mom awkwardly pursed her lips, glancing at me and then at Song Jiajiao, unsure whether to praise me or comfort her. After a moment, Song Jiajiao bit her lip and said, "Sister, you don't need to cheat just to embarrass me. Grades are just numbers. Only the knowledge you learn is truly yours." I looked at her like she was an idiot. As soon as she said that, my dad suddenly woke up from a dream, frowning and saying, "No wonder your grades improved so much all of a sudden. You were cheating. It's no surprise that entering a class like 13 would corrupt your morals. What good is cheating? Can you cheat during the college entrance exam?" My mom continued. I really wanted to curse at them, but I wasn't studying for them. I rolled my eyes, tucked my report card away, and left without hesitation. Song Jiajiao glared at me with venom from behind. She couldn't figure out for the life of her why, after a month, I was completely unaffected in class 13. She had been in that class before, where less than half the students showed up daily, so the teachers were quite lax, just going through the motions with the textbook, never checking homework or tests. The students around me were either gaming or sleeping during class, some even playing movies or music out loud, creating a very noisy environment. On top of that, she had spread rumors at the start of the semester that I was harassing Jiang Mian. Wouldn't Jiang Mian hate me? Wouldn't his admirers have come after me? In fact, they did, but after the initial confrontation at the start of the semester, Jiang Mian realized I wasn't interested in her, so he basically ignored me. As for Sulu's pranks, they were just minor annoyances to me. If it came down to it, her little gang wouldn't be a match for even one of my fingers. Song Jiajiao observed for another 2 weeks and found that everything was calm for me in class 13. She was so furious her face turned green, and she bit her lips tightly, finally deciding to take matters into her own hands. On Tuesday morning, as soon as I entered the classroom, I noticed a group of people gathered around my desk, whispering and snickering from time to time. Just more boring pranks. I frowned in annoyance and pushed through the crowd, only to see my desk covered in red paint with phrases like "outsider interfering in someone else's family" and "get out of the Song family" scrawled all over it. My seat was plastered with vulgar insults. The paint was so deep that it had seeped into the desk, rendering the entire thing useless. Sulu stood nearby, arms crossed, looking quite composed as she said, "Oh, Songji, you're really despicable for meddling in someone else's family." I remained expressionless and tilted my head, asking, "Did you do this?" Perhaps it was my icy glare, or maybe she remembered the scene from yesterday when I brutally beat her in the bathroom. But Sulu took an involuntary step back, stammering, "Don't frame an innocent person, such an old-fashioned and childish trick. How could it be my style?" I coldly raised my eyes. "Oh, if it wasn't you, then it must be someone else." At 7:40 a.m., just after the morning self-study ended, the door of the tranquil Class 1 classroom was suddenly kicked open with a loud bang. I entered the classroom, one hand carrying a desk, the other clutching a torn piece of paper, my face expressionless. From Class 13 to Class 1, I had to pass 2 floors and a corridor. Along the way, many people gave me contemptuous looks, and some bolder ones even cursed behind my back, calling me shameless. "How dare someone like you attend the same school as me? And can you just get out of the school?" But I didn't care. A true strong person never fears rumors and slander, but I won't let those who spread lies off the hook. Song Jiajiao was talking to her deskmate when suddenly she felt a sharp pain in her scalp, forcing her to look up into my cold, towering gaze. I grabbed her ponytail with great force, dragging her out of her seat and into the hallway. She screamed, "It hurts, Songji." What are you doing? Are you crazy? I didn't say a word, slamming her head down onto my desk and coldly ordered, lick it clean. Song Jiajiao's gaze fell on the bright red writing, her eyes flickering with guilt for a moment. But as her gaze caught the onlookers around her, she suddenly found her courage. Song Ji, what's wrong with you? I didn't write these things, you're falsely accusing me, and you're bullying me at school. As she spoke, she broke down in tears. I know you hate me. If you want the love of mom and dad, take it. Why are you treating me like this? I've already been so tolerant of you. Why won't you just leave me alone? The way others looked at me suddenly changed. So she's Song Ji, she just clings to the Song family, causing trouble for everyone. I heard her parents don't want to publicly acknowledge her identity. TSK, what a disgrace. This girl is way too violent. Look at how scared Song Jiajiao is. The words on the desk definitely weren't written by her. Exactly, it could have been someone from class 13, they're always picking on Song Jiajiao. I took a deep breath and decided to take back what I just said. A true strong person never fears rumors. Then I crouched down, snapped a desk leg with my bare hands, and threw it at the guy who was insulting me the most. Can you shut up? Keep talking, and I'll deal with each of you one by one. The surrounding classmates fell silent instantly. Song Jiajiao panicked completely the moment she saw me make a move. She screamed like a madwoman. I pretended not to hear and pressed her head against the desk, rubbing it vigorously. The paint was still half dry, so it smeared all over her face. With her face covered in bright red paint, she looked like a vengeful ghost. She stopped pretending to be pitiful and started cursing loudly. Song Ji, you bitch, how dare you treat me like this? I'll definitely get my dad to kick you out when I get home. You were always an outsider in the Song family. If it weren't for you, I would have been the sole favorite at home, and your mom, clinging to my dad like a leech. If it weren't for my mom dying early, do you think they would have had a chance to remarry? It's all your fault, you deserve it. Her shrill voice even reached class 13. After a while, Su Lu and the others came down, hearing Song Jiajiao's words. They frowned and spoke bluntly. So, it turns out your mom was the third wheel. I thought you were from a decent background. You're really shameless, aren't you? Your mom destroyed someone else's family, and you have the nerve to call the legitimate daughter an outsider. Song Jiajiao was so angry her lips turned pale, but she dared not speak out against Sulu due to her higher social status, seeing that the time was right. I pressed Song Jiajiao onto the desk and forced her to open her mouth. You seem to enjoy spreading rumors so much, don't you? I smirked casually. Since these are all things you wrote yourself, then you can punish yourself by eating them all. With that, I crumpled the paper into a ball and shoved it forcefully into Song Jiajiao's mouth, making her swallow it. Song Jiajiao was in so much pain that tears streamed down her face, and she was crying and retching. Her gaze at me seemed murderous. Gasps echoed around, and even Su Lu, the leader of the group, couldn't help but shudder at my method. This Song Ji is too ruthless. Sister Lu, luckily we didn't bother her much. Shut up. Isn't it all a misunderstanding before? Yes, it's a misunderstanding. Song Ji is now our classmate. Amid the chaos, a loud shout rang out. What are you doing? What's going on here? Have you no respect for the law? In the office, the grade director glared angrily. My dad sat with the director, while my mom held Song Jiajiao, who was sobbing and complaining. Only I stood before them, like a criminal awaiting judgment. I was studying in the classroom when my sister suddenly burst in and turned me into this state. Everyone who was watching saw it. I didn't say anything. Those insulting words weren't written by me. Song Jiajiao was determined that I had no evidence and firmly insisted she was innocent. My dad was so furious his chest was heaving violently. He raised his hand to slap me, but missed, as I grabbed his wrist. Being a middle-aged man, he wasn't even as strong as me, his face turning a deep shade of purple. My mom, standing beside us, said with deep disappointment, Gigi, I thought you were just a bit mischievous when you were young in the countryside, and I expected you to grow out of it, but instead, you've become more and more out of control. In the end, what happened between your father and me? Jiajiao is also a victim. She lost her mother. Can't you just let her be? I never expected you to be so jealous. It's truly disappointing. I smirked mockingly, then pulled out an old-fashioned phone from my pocket. I pressed the play button, and Song Jiajiao's shrill voice rang out clearly from the phone. And your mom keeps clinging to dad. If it weren't for my mom dying early, do you think they would have had a chance to remarry? Song Jiajiao rushed forward to grab the phone, but it was too late. The expressions of concern on her parents' faces froze in place. I lowered my eyelids and said, "Do you still think she's innocent?" "Yes, I did hit her. But it was to protect my own mother and my own family, Mom and Dad. Am I not your daughter?" Their expressions changed like a palette of colors. I looked at them with sadness, my eyes gradually turning desperate and sorrowful, then let out a wail and pushed Song Jiaojiao, who was blocking the way, before running out of the office. As for my assault on a classmate and my disregard for school rules and discipline, I believe that the guilt I stirred in my parents will help them handle this matter for me. Sure enough, 3 days later, the disciplinary result came out, and all I needed to do was submit an 800-word reflection, no apology required. 3 days later, when I stepped back into room 13, everyone's gaze turned to one of respect. Sulu said to me sarcastically, "I didn't expect you to change your tune so quickly." She had witnessed everything that happened in the office that day. I calmly opened my book and started memorizing vocabulary. "You seem quite capable, Song Ji. Let's be friends." Sulu sat down in front of me and pressed her hand on my English book. I stared at her fair, slender hand for a few seconds. The Su family is a local real estate tycoon, and her father holds a much higher status than mine. My dad sent Song Jiajiao to this prestigious academy in the hope that she could build connections and pave the way for him. In a way, friendships from middle school are the purest form of networking. Of course, I want to make friends, but not for my dad's sake. Sure, I flicked her hand away, but I won't bully the weak. Sulu smiled, revealing her 2 sharp canines. "It sounds like you think I would, if it weren't for the rumor that you liked Jiang Mian. Do you really think I'd bother with you?" "Speaking of Jiang Mian, he hasn't shown up at school for a week," Sulu continued. "You don't know, he got ambushed behind a bar last week, covered in injuries, and even fractured his wrist. He's probably still lounging in the hospital now." I said nonchalantly, "With his background, is he afraid he can't get revenge? They're just a bunch of riffraff, always running around. It's not that easy to catch them," Sulu said, cupping her face in frustration. "Besides, his family is strict. If he uses his connections to fight, his dad might skin him alive." After getting to know Sulu, my school life suddenly gained a group of friends. As I got to know her better, I found her quite interesting. Though she was spoiled, she was very loyal. When she learned about my feud with Song Jiajiao, she even asked if I wanted her to teach Song a lesson to vent my anger, but I shook my head. Not yet. My feud with Song Jiajiao wasn't just some petty squabble. In my previous life, she stabbed me 13 times. I need to plan carefully before I'm fully prepared. After I beat up Song Jiajiao, she was quiet for a while, but perhaps seeing me getting close to Sulu, she became increasingly anxious and started to casually approach other rich and powerful second-generation heirs. I watched it all with amusement. She's been reborn, but her mind hasn't. Ever since I was a child living in the village, I knew that only by having value can you attract others to interact with you. After 2 lifetimes, she still doesn't understand this. Another half-month passed, and one morning, Sulu suddenly rushed into the classroom, pulling me out while I was doing practice problems. "Songji, you have to help me this time. Consider it me owing you a favor, and you can come to me for anything in the future." I leaned against the wall, lazily raising an eyebrow. "What's the rush? Jiang Mian just got out of the hospital, and those thugs are already him again. This time, there are even more of them, and it looks like they won't let him off without a fight. She doesn't want me to call the police, but you have to help me." Sulu saw my serious expression and seemed on the verge of tears, so I straightened up. "How many of them are there?" "There are about 7 or 8 of them, and they're armed. Jiang Mian only has 2 people with him," she said, suddenly losing her composure. "I'm so frantic. I can't believe there are so many of them. Even you can't handle this. I'll just go call the police, and if she scolds me, so be it." She turned to leave, but I grabbed her arm. "Where?" "Take me there." 5 minutes later, the taxi stopped behind an unfinished building. As soon as I approached, I heard the sound of a steel pipe hitting flesh, followed by Jiang Mian's stifled groan. Sulu was so anxious she was about to cry. Rushing over to shield Jiang Mian, I, on the other hand, took my time removing my school uniform jacket, neatly folding it, and placing it on a brick before walking over. The scene was chaotic, with 7 or 8 people surrounding Jiang Mian and his group, each holding a stick. In contrast, Jiang Mian looked quite battered, with various degrees of bruises on his exposed skin. The one holding the steel pipe was a yellow-haired guy who gave me a once-over and spoke flippantly. "Oh, been gone so long. I thought you brought some backup. Is this little girl it?" Her thighs aren't even as thick as my arm. I stood firm in front of them. I was already thin, and surrounded by 7 or 8 young men, I looked even more frail and delicate. I raised my eyes, looking at the yellow-haired guy with a blank expression. I swore to myself that after transferring schools, I would study hard, but because of you bastards, I skipped class for the first time. The yellow-haired guy was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter with the people around him. Still a good student, huh? So what are you here for? To entertain us? But with that flat figure of yours, we're not interested. Jiang Mian frowned and said coldly, Song Ji, you and Su Lu, get out of here. I don't need you meddling in my affairs. I rolled my eyes. Who cares about you? By the way, if something goes wrong, are you responsible? Jiang Mian was stunned for a moment. I can clean up after you. Ha ha ha, you little brat, you've got some nerve. Do you think we're just playing around with you? So tough-mouthed, you'll definitely be screaming soon. Before the yellow-haired guy could finish, I suddenly kicked out with a powerful leg, sending him flying 2 meters away. The ground, already uneven with bricks, caused him to hit some rubble, instantly cutting his arm and leaving it bleeding profusely. Dead silence. I picked up a brick and looked at the remaining 7. He's gone. What about you? Want to gang up? Or are you going to save the grandpa one by one like the Calabash brothers? 10 minutes later, 8 young men were lying on the ground groaning in unison. I calmly picked up my jacket, zipped it up, turned my head, and asked Jiang Mian with an innocent tone, can you still walk? He seemed still in shock from seeing me take down 8 young men with my bare hands. Suddenly meeting my harmless gaze, he paused and spoke in a more obedient tone. Yes, good, then you handle the cleanup here. I took out my old phone to check the time. There are 15 minutes left in this class. I can still make it if I go back now. I'm leaving first. Bye. Su Lu, quite the act. Jiang Mian, it is a bit, but thanks anyway. I waved it off. Hey, just a small favor. The next day, Jiang Mian, who had been missing for nearly a month, finally returned to school. After the morning exercise session, I was stretching when Jiang Mian called out to me from a distance. The surrounding classmates immediately gave me curious looks, as the story of me chasing Jiang Mian and getting a 0 in the exam to join class 13 had been the talk of the school. Song Jiajiao hasn't dared to provoke me lately, but that doesn't stop her from glaring at me with a dark gaze. When she saw Jiang Mian return to school and the first person he sought out was me, her eyes lit up with excitement. Knowing Jiang Mian's nature, he would surely humiliate me in front of everyone. Song Jiajiao was eagerly anticipating it. However, she waited and waited, only to see Jiang Mian bowing his head and speaking to me very politely. I stretched casually, nodding slightly with a hint of impatience. Then Jiang Mian slightly flattered me by handing me a bottle of water, just like that. He left. Song Jiajiao couldn't believe it. Why, he had bullied her so cruelly in their previous life, yet he treated me so well. Jiang Mian didn't really tell me much, just invited me to watch car racing on the mountain on Saturday to repay my kindness. I wasn't initially interested, but then I remembered last night at dinner when Song Jiajiao bragged to her parents about how the new guy she's been hanging out with invited her to watch car racing at Nanshan this weekend. Rich second-generation kids have a lot of entertainment options, and those who can afford car racing are usually very wealthy. The Song family is rich, but they can't quite afford that yet. My dad was very pleased and praised Song Jiajiao. After finishing my last set of stretches, I stood up and glanced at the girl with a venomous look in her eyes. Did she really think this would be her big comeback? I'll make sure she remembers this day forever. Saturday, at the top of Nanshan. Jiang Mian drove up with Su Lu and me. As soon as I got out of the car, I spotted Song Jiajiao in the crowd, standing next to a guy with red hair, raising an eyebrow at me in a challenging way. Then she said something to the redhead, who turned to look at us and smirked. Jiang Mian, I heard you got roughed up by some street thugs outside of school these past 2 weeks. How embarrassing. And you still have the guts to show up today, the redhead said as he approached with Song Jiajiao, his tone dripping with mockery. Jiang Mian frowned slightly and glanced at him, saying, none of your business. If it were anyone else, Jiang Mian would have kicked them already. The fact that he didn't means this guy must have some serious connections. Looks like Song Jiajiao's efforts over the past 2 months weren't in vain. The red-haired guy blew a whistle and taunted, since you're here, let's race. The 1 million you won from me last time, I'll make you double it today. Su Lu immediately protested. Jiang Mian, his hand just recovered, he's not fit for racing, we're just here to watch the race today. Song Jiajiao sniffled and said, watching the game is so boring. Or are you guys too scared to join in? Jiang Mian is just someone who can't handle a challenge. He was about to start yelling, but the next second, I spoke up. Sure, let's compete. Everyone looked at me in shock. I smiled at them, my backpack on, looking like a little kid. Sulu pulled me back disapprovingly and whispered, "What are you doing? Jiang Mian's hand isn't fully recovered, which will really affect his performance," and they clearly came prepared. "Don't be impulsive." "I'm not being impulsive," I said, looking at Song Jiajiao, and spoke slowly, "but it's too boring to just have the two of you race. This person is my stepsister, and she's deliberately causing trouble. I demand to sit in the passenger seat with her during the race." Everyone was momentarily stunned. This kind of racing format isn't unheard of, but it does increase the difficulty for both the driver and the partner. Before Jiang Mian could refuse, the red-haired guy excitedly raised an eyebrow. "Great, I've never tried this before." Song Jiajiao felt a bad premonition rising in her heart, her face slightly pale. She tugged at Hong Mao's hand. "Let's not. I don't know anything about racing. I'll just watch from the side." Hong Mao, however, impatiently shook her off. "Your sister isn't afraid, so why are you? Besides, you don't have to drive. Just sit there quietly and don't distract me." Seeing this, Jiang Mian reluctantly agreed. For him, today's race was inevitable. Whether he paid the 2 million or not, the form didn't matter anymore. 10 minutes later, the area was cleared, and the vast peak of Nanshan Mountain was left with only Jiang Mian and Hong Mao's cars. While fastening his seatbelt, Jiang Mian said, "If it were before, with my familiarity with the Nanshan track, winning this race should be no problem, but my wrist hasn't fully recovered, so I'm not very confident. You might feel uncomfortable sitting in the passenger seat, so let me know if you can't take it." The countdown from the host and the deafening roar of the engine reached my ears. I glanced at Song Jiajiao and broke into an excited smile. "All right." The whistle blew, and the red and black racing cars shot out at high speed. Nanshan Circuit is a winding mountain road, with a guardrail on the left and a steep mountain wall on the right, making the track narrow. At first, the two cars were neck and neck, but gradually Jiang Mian began to struggle. The wrist fracture had a significant impact on him. Hong Mao took advantage of this and didn't rush to speed up, but kept a moderate distance ahead of us, constantly swerving to block our car, forcing Jiang Mian to brake several times. After being cut off by Red's car again at a 45-degree turn, he lightly slapped the steering wheel in frustration. Ahead, Red slowly extended his hand and gave him the middle finger. "Humph. You're not going to win like that," I said nonchalantly, crossing my arms as the wind messed up my hair. Jiang Mian said irritably, "I know that. I never intended to win in the first place. Do you want to win?" "Nonsense. 2 million. Who wants to lose?" I nodded and said straightforwardly, "Stop the car." Jiang Mian was taken aback. "What do you mean, stop the car if you want to win?" Meanwhile, the race was being broadcast live on the big screen. Looks like Jiang Mian is doomed. TSK. If I were humiliated like that, I would have given up long ago. No money, no face left. Jiang Mian is really in a tough spot. Wait, why did he suddenly stop? Is he really going to quit the race? Look over there. Is he crazy? He just switched seats with the woman in the passenger seat. Can that girl even drive? Meanwhile, Jiang Mian, sitting in the passenger seat, also asked the same soul-stirring question in a resigned tone. "Are you sure you can drive?" I opened the door, closed it, buckled my seatbelt, and adjusted the seat. "I have a basic idea." I glanced at him and said, "Hold on to the handle." He was startled. "Ah," I said, "I'm going to speed up." Racing, I actually learned by chance. In my previous life, I loved driving the tricycle from the village store. Many people drove that tricycle, but I was the best and most stable among them. The villagers all praised me for my driving talent. Later, when I came to the capital, my parents didn't care about me, and Song Jiajiao bullied me. So I had to always play the role of a good student. When the pressure got too much, I would spend money to experience racing. There were many racing enthusiasts at the club, and I often raced with them, so I gradually became semi-professional. But I can't be bothered to explain all this to Jiang Mian. As soon as I finished speaking, I pressed the accelerator. His car was modified to the extreme, and with a roar, it shot forward like a wild beast. The red-haired guy was still driving slowly. He glanced in the rearview mirror and sneered, "It's been so long, and they still haven't caught up. Looks like they've given up." Song Jiajiao, sitting in the passenger seat, was pale from the wind, but at least she relaxed a bit, and she put on a flattering smile again. "Yes, I knew you wouldn't lose." As soon as she finished speaking, a buzzing sound came from behind her. In the next second, a black shadow darted past her side. The spectators let out a gasp. Wow. This girl really knows how to drive. She's pretty fast. Looks like she's been driving for a few years. Suddenly, she seems kind of cool. After a brief moment of shock, the red-haired guy cursed and quickly sped up to catch up. His skills were pretty good too, and he soon caught up with me. We raced forward. Jian Mian snapped back to reality, his tone complex. I didn't expect you to have this skill. Just keep your speed steady. And if he tries to cut you off later, you... Before he could finish, I suddenly accelerated and performed a sharp drift. Oh my god, what is she doing? Isn't she going to cut back? This is a 70-degree turn ahead. Are you trying to kill yourself by cutting off here? There's a rock wall right in front. I drove straight at him and aggressively cut off Red Hair's car. He was caught off guard and forced to stop, then stuck his head out the window and yelled, "Are you crazy?" I gave her the middle finger. Red Hair was stunned. A woman. For the rest of the time, I kept forcing Red Hair to stop his car, all on some treacherous bends. After the race, Red Hair's face was as black as a pot, while Song Jiajiao got out of the car without a wobble, ran to the side, and vomited profusely, her face as pale as paper. After Jiang Mian received 2 million, he proposed to split 1 million with me, which I accepted without hesitation. After all, it was all due to my contribution. Red Hair walked over. Hey. Let's exchange contact info and race again next time. Not interested. After the race, these rich second-generation kids threw a party at the... I asked Jiang Mian about the amusement park being planned at the foot of the mountain. What? You want to invest? He disagreed. This place is remote, and there's already the Nanshan track on the mountain. The amusement park is likely to be abandoned halfway, and even if it's built, there won't be many visitors. I took a sip of juice. He had no idea about my past life. The Nanshan racetrack would soon be demolished, and after the mountain road was expanded, the amusement park launched a massive online marketing campaign, quickly becoming even with exorbitant prices. People kept flocking there to watch the fireworks. Seeing my determined gaze, Jian Mian reluctantly said, "All right, how much are you investing?" 3 million. That was all the money I had. Jiang Mian could tell, and he was surprised. All of it. Aren't you afraid of losing it all? I shook my head. I'm not afraid. Well then, since that's the case, I'll invest 5 million as well. After knowing this, Sulu also hesitated and invested a small amount of 1 million. After the party, Jian Mian and I exchanged contact information, and he said he would help me with the investment. On the way back, Song Jiajia was in the car I was driving. Her face was still very pale, and she stared at me through the rearview mirror as if she wanted to bore a hole through me. Song Ji, you absolutely did that on purpose. Yeah, making you lose face in front of your crush. Do you think he'll even bother with you now? Why are you treating me like this? It was your appearance that shattered my happy life. In my previous life, you took away my family and the excellent grades that should have been mine. Why won't you leave me alone even after I've been reborn? Who's really not letting go here? Song Jiajiao, you stabbed me 13 times, and I didn't. Well, that's just me being kind. Song Jiajiao laughed maniacally. Ha ha ha, so you believe I can stab you to death once? I can do it a second time. So, Song Ji, don't push me too far, or I'll make sure you die even more horribly than in your previous life. I suddenly opened my eyes and smiled meaningfully. So of course, I know, Song Jiajiao. This time you can enjoy the torment I bring you. Don't worry, those 13 stabs, I'll repay you in another way. With that, I unceremoniously jumped out of the car, landing in a way that was highly difficult but as safe as possible to avoid injury. I touched my skinned knee and cursed under my breath. The next second, a loud boom, the car crashed into the mountain wall. 15 minutes later, my parents arrived with the ambulance. They looked in disbelief at the horrific accident scene. I turned around and threw myself into their arms without hesitation. Wah! I was going to step on the brake, but the car's brakes were broken. I was so scared. I warned Song Jiajia to jump out, but she refused to jump and even scolded me for scaring her. I didn't know it would turn out like this. I was so scared. Wah! If this had happened in my previous life, they would have definitely scolded me, but after exchanging a glance, they thought of Song Jiajia's true nature they had seen before. After a while, my mom sighed and stroked my back. As long as you're okay. Song Jiajia wasn't seriously injured, just 2 broken legs and multiple fractures all over her body. Such a daughter is no longer of any use to my selfish father, being the selfish man he is. only wanted an outstanding daughter to serve as his tool for climbing the social ladder. Now that Song Jiajiao is ruined, he noticed that I'm doing well in my studies and have close connections with people like Jiang Mian and Su Lu, so he shifted his attention back to me, making it even less likely that he would pursue the matter of the car accident. And because of the last recording incident, Song Jiajiao has completely broken my mother's heart, and my mother no longer wants to care for her. After she wakes up, she only hires a caregiver to look after her. The day I went to visit her, she was going crazy in the hospital room. I peeled an apple and sneered at her. "What's the matter? It's been half a month, and you still haven't accepted the fact that you've become a useless waste." Song Jiajiao glared at me with bloodshot eyes. "Song Ji, just you wait, I will definitely asterisk. You can't even move. How do you plan to kill me? I will definitely kill you, just like before. Before that, you'd better figure out how to endure my torment," I said, ringing the bell to summon the nurse and asked her, "Did the doctor mention any precautions?" "Yes," the nurse recited them like a mantra. "Avoid spicy food that could irritate the wound, don't touch cold water, avoid large movements, and keep the area dry and clean. In that case, let's take turns taking care of her as you just suggested." I emphasized the word taking care. The caregiver hesitated, looking at me uncertainly. "How much is my dad paying you?" 12,000 a month. "I'll give you 30,000. Got it." The caregiver remained silent for a moment. "Understood." 2 months later, Song Jiajia's wounds worsened. When my dad visited her, she cried and accused me of hiring someone to abuse her. How could that be? I innocently looked up, handing my dad a perfect score report in English. "I've been busy studying all day. How would I have time for anything else, sister? I know you're feeling depressed and not cooperating with treatment, but you can't falsely accuse me like this." As soon as Song Jiajiao heard this, she immediately burst into a tirade. "Stop pretending, Song Ji, you bitch, you're just trying to mess with me. Stop acting. Aren't you disgusted with yourself?" My dad couldn't take it anymore and coldly reprimanded her. "That's enough, Jiajiao. How did you become like this, like a shrew? Apologize to your sister right now." "I won't apologize. I'm the victim here. Why should I apologize?" "Dad, why are you siding with her? Aren't I your favorite daughter?" My dad got up impatiently and said, "Look at yourself. Do you even deserve to be my daughter?" With that, he left without a second thought. From that day on, he never came to see her again, leaving her to rot in her dark room with her wounds festering and stinking. Finally, with no other options left, my dad sent her abroad and never bothered with Song Jiajiao again. The day the news of her death reached me, I had just finished the college entrance exam and received my admission letter from Tsinghua University. When this news came, my parents were quite shocked and rushed to the foreign country overnight to inquire. Only then did they learn that Song Jiajia's wounds had become infected, despite using many medications, leaving her with numerous complications. My dad had originally left her with a sum of money, but she still harbored thoughts of revenge against me and wanted to secretly ask someone to bring her back to the country. Little did she know, the person she entrusted was a con artist who swindled all her money, even taking away her only means of contacting home. Unable to pay for her treatment, Song Jiajiao was kicked out of the nursing home and eventually died on the streets. When my dad went to retrieve her, there wasn't even a complete body to bring back. While they were busy handling affairs abroad, I received the first installment of profits from my previous investments in the country, over 40 million. Jiang Mian got even more, and Su Lu also earned her first significant sum. Both were overjoyed and treated me to a meal. As the wine flowed, the three of us raised our glasses. They smiled at me and said, "Song Ji, thank you, we're truly grateful to have met you. We originally thought that people like us would just rely on our families to live as spoiled rich second-generation kids all our lives." I gave a wry smile, thinking about Song Jiajia's past life. Jiang Mian was someone who clearly distinguished between love and hate, and Su Lu was a righteous person. If it weren't for Song Jiajia's one-sided infatuation, her relentless pursuit, and her repeated provocations against Su Lu, relying on her favored position in the Song family and looking down on everyone, how could she have ended up in such a situation? If she hadn't been so ambitious and intent on doing evil, and instead had chosen to avoid them after being reborn, focused on studying and improving herself, given how much her parents doted on her, how could they have let her die alone abroad? No matter what, her fate was self-inflicted.